Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Let's see, we already have some audience here in our webinar. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here with us today. Okay, maybe we can just wait a couple more minutes to see if anyone else will join us live. Okay. In this meantime, you can feel free to drop in the chat where are you from, what field do you work in, so we can know each other better. Okay. Okay, I will start presenting myself and also talking a little bit more about the webinar. So in this meantime, we can wait for more people to join us. My name is Wendy. I am the marketing manager at Albato. And Albato is a no-code iPaaS powered by AI with an exclusive model that allows SaaS companies to embed 1,000 plus connectors into their own interface in a white label way, providing a native integration experience for the end users. And here with me today, we have Natalia, our special guest. So Natalia, feel free to say a couple words about yourself as well.
Thanks, Wendy. Super excited to be here because this is a topic that I really love. I'm Natalia. I run global channels and alliances for Apexa IQ, and I'm also a heavy orchestrator of AI. I'm a developer on the weekends, and I use products like Albato, so very excited about it. Apexa is a focus that we do continuous asset assurance. And so and unified visibility. So essentially, we're showing people what exists in their environment, how exposed it is, and actually who should care about it. And that lens turns out to be really useful when you look at AI features in SaaS.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Natalia. Um, we will basically discuss the main topic of this webinar, that is turning AI security into a GTM advantage for SaaS companies. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat and we are going to address them at the end in the live Q&A. And if you're watching this video in the future, if you're not watching it live, you can also feel free to drop a comment in the video. We will keep an eye on it, so feel free to share any insight or any question as well. And we will reply you as soon as possible. Okay? So I guess we can start with our discussion, Natalia. I guess the main thing I would like to discuss with you, it's about this new reality that we are living, this new AI reality, because the adoption of AI is no longer a one-off event, and we can see it in our whole life, but also into the company environment because this AI adoption is exploding across the SaaS products. And I would like to see your perspective on what kind of AI security questions enterprise buyers are now asking that they weren't asking a year ago, because all changed in this last year. So what do you think about this perspective?
Um, I think it's kind of awesome. I think what changed was accessibility to the tools themselves. And there's two big changes that actually happened. One was the security questions themselves, and the second thing is who's asking those questions. So it used to be just even until last year, the questions were, do you have like single sign-on, MFA, encryption, SOC 2, maybe ISO? But now it actually sounds more like, where does our data go when your AI runs? And are you sending it to external models? And if you are, what are those terms? So what are those pass-through terms? They want to know if the AI is being used for training or stored somewhere where they can't see it. And what exactly does the AI touch when you're in their environment? Is it read, write, or both? And the folks that are asking that are not just the security people on the other end. It's legal, it's procurement, and it's your champion within these organizations. So they have to be able to explain your product to everyone else. I was actually recently at a conference where we had like a sit down dinner, and I'm with a bunch of enterprise folks that were in the commercial space all the way through aerospace. And these are with top security leaders, and they had a really big challenge trying to get their AI initiatives passed through legal. So the shift that happened just within the past year is that it's not enough to just say that we're secure. You really have to be understandable.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when you say that people have to understand this process, what do you think the teams actually wants to see regarding security?
So legal wants to understand the terms and who's responsible for what, and they want that in clear, distinct buckets. Security teams want to understand what it connects to, and then how long do you keep it, and what are you actually keeping, and how are you using it. So like we do something very similar within our platform, and we actually show where we process that data, what we connect to, how long we're keeping it, so forth. So that's really where the AI risk tends to show up. So in a lot of the SaaS products, the problem isn't in the model itself. It's like everything around it in the workflow.
Yeah, exactly. And in my opinion, the AI workflow itself totally can create a hidden risk for the companies because AI rarely operates alone. It typically sits inside multi-tool workflows. So there are a lot of things to pay attention in this process. So I'd like to understand how you see that are the most common architecture mistakes that SaaS companies make when shipping AI features.
Is a good question. So the typical setup for AI is that it's calling the external APIs and then those hit an integration layer, and then that layer talks to everything in your environment. So you got to think about it's touching maybe somebody's CRM, their ticketing, billing, cloud, identity, and so forth. And the biggest issues that tend to come up are the same things over and over again, which is that there's too much data that's being pushed into that workflow chain just in case. And so API keys are broad, they're long-lived, instead of being short and maybe shortened and scoped differently. And then it's really hard when that happens for somebody to answer the simple question of what does the AI actually do? And then when something weird happens, it's not really clear where the responsibility starts and ends. Is it the model provider or an integration provider? And so you really need to be able to sketch your AI flow clearly so that you can show where the data goes, what has read-write permissions, what actions it can trigger. Um, in order to do that, you need to be able to defend it. And if you can't defend those points, makes it really hard to sell. So, like in my world at Apexa IQ, we already have that complexity. So there's a lot of tools that feed us asset and telemetry data, and then our platform actually correlates it. And then we take that action, we flow it out through a workflow, or even sometimes through integration tools that we have in the back end through our partners. And when you inject AI into that, you have to be very explicit about the inputs, decisions, and outputs, or you're going to lose trust.
Totally, that's it. And that's how I think we can change the risk to an advantage. So we can use the security as a GTM accelerator itself. And then instead of slowing sales cycles, security transparency can speed them up. And how can companies turn AI architecture transparency into a sales asset in this context?
All right, here's where I get super excited because I build and develop stuff on the weekends. I invented something called ScorePath for this reason. But when you want to turn AI security from that scary conversation of what is the security posture around it into a go-to-market signal that we can use to build confidence with our customers, you want to look for about 6 different things. And so one is that straightforward workflow story. Uh, again, what goes in, what comes out, what services or models touch it. And then here's where it can read or write. Those are like 3 core items that you have to be able to talk about very easily. And your AE and your CISO should be able to do that in a couple of minutes. You're good. You also want to make sure that you got crisp data boundaries. So the data you have to understand and help people understand what part stays in their environment, what is going to external third-party services under what terms, what's being used for training and how to opt in and out of that. Um, the third thing that you want to make sure that you are using as from your security stack as a go-to-market signal to talk about with your customers and end users is scoped access instead of God mode. This one's pretty important. So you want to make sure that you can show where AI can read from systems and then also where it can write and under like what conditions. So overprivileged access is one of the top red flags right now. And you want to make sure that you're walking a client through exactly who has access to what. Here's the guardrails, which is the number fourth one. And the automations are suggestions. So they need to require human approval, and they need to have limits so they can't be bulk updated or deleted at scale by accident. Um, the fifth thing is audibility. So if something looks off, you can walk somebody through what the AI saw, what it decided, and what it triggered. And then lastly, ongoing checks. So regularly checking for prompt injection, data leakage, workflow abuse. It's all part of how you ship your product, and it's not just like a once-a-year audit exercise. So when you take all of those 6 concrete points into your sales team, your SEs, and out to the market, in my case, through partners that we talk through, they're not buried in the security doc. You treat your security architecture as your go-to-market architecture, and you make it really clear for folks exactly how they stay protected, and not just talk about what the cool AI stuff can do.
Yeah, great. And bringing it around the integration perspective, as at Albato we work with integration, I think it's really important to understand the role of the integration in this infrastructure because not all AI workflows are internal. Some of them rely heavily on integrations. And in this context, what questions you think should companies be asking when adopting integrations within their ecosystem?
Um, I think they need to treat integrations as people. So they really need to get to understand how it's getting scoped, and think about it in layers. So AI typically sits or lives kind of on top of the integrations, and it can be things like embedded iPaaS, like Albato, your own API surface, maybe through a partner tool. And that layer, you need to be able to talk about what it can see, what it can change, and how big the blast radius is if something goes sideways. So if the integration picture is fuzzy, the AI behavior is then fuzzy by default. So like if I'm working with a client and I misscope an integration, the wrong people might see the wrong information or assets that could be at risk get missed. And if we mishandle data paths, that can distort a posture and picture for security teams and underwriters who actually rely on us. So at Apexo, we really care about per tenant boundaries, explicit connection paths, and then clearly defining which actions have to go through what approval step. So those same principles keep AI credible when you drop it into a complex SaaS stack.
Yeah, perfect. And if you could highlight like a security checklist when using AI tools, not only integration tools, but third-party integration as a whole for this ecosystem. What kind of topics you would highlight for to pay more attention?
Yeah, the main ones is just to remember everything is Everything is a block diagram. You have to be able to explain end-to-end flow in under 2 minutes. You actually need to be able to explain what minimum data this feature actually needs, and where it's getting limited and how you're going to limit it. Do things like list exactly what systems it can change and under what conditions. So having those guardrails in place. And this changes depending on your outcome and what you're trying to achieve. But every single time you're doing it, you have to go through the same process. Because if something goes wrong across the vendors, you need to be able to say, hey, this what part was on this vendor or this was on us, and we need to show logs for it and be able to have that traceability. And then understand really what knobs and toggles and policies and approvals are in place at the end user level, and take all of that into consideration. So it is the workflow that is the most important thing. Um, and the easier that becomes, the more tangible that it becomes, is it really reflects on how easy your go-to-market is, and how quickly you can get out to market as well.
Yeah, great. And again, bringing it into Albato reality. As I mentioned at the beginning, Albato offers an embedded module for SaaS companies through which we operate behind the scenes to deliver a full native integration experience for the end users. So we understand that this raises important considerations since our solution is white label and the entire automation infrastructure appears under the SaaS brand. So this naturally ties the company's name to all the aspects of performance, reliability, and security. And that's why we prioritize these robust security standards, that transparency, like the keyword, and the operational stability, so our partners can confidentially offer integrations as if they were built in-house. Um, and I can even share my screen with you to share a little bit about it. Okay, share. I think you can see my screen now. And this is the security page that we have in our website. So if you access the Albato website, there will be a button to access this page. And as I say, the transparency for us, it's really important. So we put here all the details of our policy, the measures, the protocols that we adopt to protect the data and simplify our partner integrations. Because definitely safeguarding the data, it's our top priority. So we highlight here some important numbers, but what I would like to discuss here is that we show our state-of-art infrastructure with all the details. And as you say, Natalia, it's not just about show and say that we are secure. It's about show the details and make people understand about it. So we detail here our encryption standards, the hosting and data centers, the secure credential handling, vulnerability and management testing, and also how we handle the custom data security. And also we share the additional safeguards here, specifically for the HTTPS communication, the restricted access, the limited staff access, and the encrypted backups. If users want to see a little bit more, they can explore our full privacy policy. And here we also explain a little bit more about our compliance with the GDPR, the European Standards for Data Management, and also more details about the SOC 2 Type 2, because we are certified on this SOC as well, which validates our adherence to the industry regulations and reinforce this commitment to protect customer data. And this is not only about the security. The frameworks also covers the availability, the processing integrity, the confidentiality, and the privacy. So if the user wants to know a little bit more about it, we can even highlight here, they can reach out to our email both to understand more about SOC 2 and more about GDPR, and we can send this full report to them. We also have ongoing certifications, and we keep updating this page once we launch new features in Albato. So we are planning a lot of AI features for the next month. So the Copilot is one of them, but we also have AI agents, and the security and the transparency, it's our main concern when launching all those features. We have been testing and improving it for a long time to be sure that will be working fine, but uh, mainly being a security feature for our audience, for our partners, and for their end users as well. So I think it's really important for the companies to show it and not be afraid of telling how they work and the measures and the policies they are applying into their workflows. Um, and that's it as the example I would like to share. But I think there's many other possibilities to do it into practice. It's just our specifically niche example, but there's a lot to work on it because security around AI, it's now and will be even more in the future a competitive differentiator. So as I see, there is a trend that the AI governance will become a product feature. Um, and then, Natalia, the first question I made here in this webinar for you was the questions that weren't made a year ago and they're common now. But I would also like to understand with you, what do you think enterprise buyers will be expecting from AI vendors in the next 2 or 3 years? Because I know there a lot of things will change since by then.
Yeah, I think a lot of what they're expecting is starting to take place already, and that's like ongoing checks and monitoring. They want in-product views of what's going on. So like real controls and logs that they can see and adjust, right? I think having that autonomy to be able to direct how your AI is getting used, and making sure that it aligns to the outcome that you're trying to drive is ultimately the end goal. But at the end of the day, if it's not something that's easily explainable, it's not going to get adopted even within their own environment. You see this happening over and over again. Everybody can build a lot of great things with AI. The question is, how do you get it adopted across your organization? So I think that that's going to be the next wave of making sure that it's a part of the institution and not just a bolt-on. Um, for us at Apexa, our North Star is really continuous asset assurance. So knowing what you have, how risky it is, and who owns it. Um, AI governance looks very similar to that. So knowing where your AI is, where it's active, what it touches, and how it behaves over time. So being able to think of it not just as this really cool tool that helps me increase my efficiency, but almost as a sidekick to whoever's working with it, how they're going to orchestrate it and how they're going to track it and measure it over time, I think is really going to be the driving factor.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson. I guess there were really important, really relevant insights. Uh, that was amazing. I will be sharing here in the chat the link for both websites so you can learn more about what we are working on security and on integrations for SaaS, for GTM. And as I can see, there's no questions in the chat. If you have any questions, we still have some minutes. We have like 30 minutes of a lot of learning. As I say, if there's no question now, but if you're watching this video later, you can also send your questions here in the comments and we'll be answering them. Okay. Also, if you register for this webinar, we'll be soon sending you, maybe tomorrow or at the beginning of the next week, we'll be sending you an email with some follow-up and also the link for the recording. And you can also feel free to use this as an open chat with us. Okay. I think that's all. But I would mainly like to thank Natalia for your time. If you have anything else to add here, it will be great. But it was already a huge moment. I'm really pleasure to have you with me here today.
Thanks, Wendy. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm all in on AI, and I think that that is a brilliant opportunity to do some really cool things. We just get to decide what part do we want to automate with it, and what part do we want to keep for ourselves.
That's great, Natalia. Once again, thank you very much. I hope that we can have new projects in the future. For sure, it will be a pleasure on our side as well. Thank you very much for your presence here today.
Thanks.
See you. Bye bye.